When you're looking to create content consistently, there's a few things that you should keep in mind before getting started. As I talk through the different tools, resources, and things like that, I'm going to kind of speak on them as evolution, right? You can start on one thing, then move to the next before we really move to the next step. So as we dive into this video, just keep that in mind, depending on where you're at in your current process, your current system. Some things are going to be applicable, other things are not, but I'm going to give you guys what I can based off of my experience. The first thing is that you need to develop your own process. There's many different tips and tricks and hacks that you can implement that's going to allow you to almost speed ramp how quickly you get this thing off the ground. I've tried a variety of different tools, resources, AI softwares, different things that would create efficiency in the process. And what I found over time is when I first was getting started, it was as simple as using my notes on my notes app to just have ideas, concepts, and really use it for strategy, right? Ideation. And when I would go to create content, I would just go to this list, pull it up, and start talking on the different topics that I could be speaking on. I actually still use this process to this day, especially when I'm filming like I am right now, and I don't have a script. I don't have what the next thing I'm gonna say. When I don't have a script, I typically don't film with a script. I prefer not to film with a script because when I'm speaking on these things, I really want it to come from my heart and my experience at the end of the day. So your notes app is a great place to get started. So after the notes section and you need to go a little bit more in depth, you might have a team, you might have one person helping you. You really need to centralize things. You can either put it into a Google Doc, you could have a title with a list of videos and a few sub bullet points to really allow you just to have different talking points. And then the next thing that you're gonna run into is if you're editing the videos, it's gonna be really easy to just take the SD card out of the camera or airdrop it from your phone to your computer. If you're gonna edit it, you can edit it also in CapCut. It's gonna be really easy to follow where this information is because you're the only one working. But when you look to bring in an editor and replace yourself, you now run into a new issue. You now are going to be taking the footage, uploading it to a centralized location, a cloud, then that person's gonna be downloading it. Then they also have to edit it, get it done on time, then you can post it, right? So there's more steps that are involved in the process. And so when you have a smaller team, yourself, maybe one other person, and you guys can be texting about the process. But when you want to remove yourself even more out of the creation process, whether it's ideation, filming, editing, there has to be a clear process involved, or else what's going to end up happening is you're going to film a bunch of content, it's not going to get done, and you're going to be very, very frustrated. If that is currently happening to you, I have the solution for you. We're going to dive into that now. What has to happen to avoid that pain of filming the content and never seeing it again is you have to have a proper project management tool in place. Notes will not work for this. Text messages will not work for this. Email will not work for this. Those three things, no. You can still communicate that way, but that is not going to be your one source of truth. You have to have a one source of truth, and there's a few different platforms. They all do the same thing, and it's going to be your responsibility to figure out which platform you like. There's hundreds of these project management tools, a few of them that I've personally tried or have other business owners that use them: ClickUp, Monday.com, Asana, and Notion. Now I say it in that order because I used to be a huge Notion guy, and I still love Notion to this day. However, when you start to scale content, do hundreds of videos, have a few editors, Notion becomes very clunky, bulky, and really hard to track. They have made a ton of improvements and I still would recommend them. However, I did stop using Notion and switch over to ClickUp. The reason why I switched from Notion to ClickUp was ultimately the scalability that it had. We needed a platform that would allow us to go really deep, have clear data, and be able to tell where it's at very, very quickly. And that was just ClickUp for us. I went into Monday.com, I went into ClickUp, I did the free trials and created some tickets, created some fake scenarios. And I was like, ClickUp is the way that I'm going. I'm sold. A lot of people actually told me not to do ClickUp. And later on, those same individuals switched from Monday.com to ClickUp. So right now, the number one tool that I would recommend is ClickUp. And I'm sorry if you love Notion, I promise ClickUp is more superior. Once you have your project management tool functioning, set up, ready to go, you then have to worry about the post-production process. Now, if you are not a video editor and you do not have video editing experience or creative direction experience, there's one important thing to know about editors. I've been an editor for the last 8 years. I was one of the editors that you would not have wanted to hire. There's a few important things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to working with editors. Number one is going to be quality control. A lot of you try to hire video editors, run very minimal quality control, and you want the best videos that have ever been created. And the issue with this is that you're not leading the projects properly, or you've not built a proper process. So what I would recommend doing is having a very clear brief, having a very clear onboarding process in terms of what you want the editor to be accomplishing. What are the fonts? What is the style? What is the overall feeling that your video is going to portray? And you ultimately need to build a mini creative brief. This can be done in Canva. This can be done in Google Docs. This could be done on your notes in your phone. You do have to do the initial work of making sure you get them that information. Once they have this information, they should be able to elevate it. They should be able to really build your own presence when it comes to your content. An example of this is my old content here and my new content here. They're two completely different styles. However, I did lead the creative evolution of this. I said, I no longer like this and I now want this, and this is the direction that we're going. If I wouldn't have communicated that, the style would have stayed the same and nothing would have changed. When you're working with editors, it's important to understand that no feedback is feedback. If you do not like something and you do not communicate that feedback, ultimately in their head, they're gonna think they're doing a phenomenal job when you do not think they're doing a phenomenal job. So you have to be able to communicate the changes that you want, the feelings that you want to portray, and it does take some time to do this. The good editors will take your feedback, implement it, and ideally you won't have to remind them of it in the future. The last thing to be aware of is editors will always take as long as you give them. If you say you have until next Friday to get the video done and I want to see a cut by Monday, you're probably not going to see a cut until Tuesday, Wednesday, or maybe Thursday. And the reason why is that they procrastinate. They want to push everything off as long as possible. However, what you need to do is shorten the timeline that they have to work on the project, and this will get the project done much faster.